Why would someone walk away from a $15 million mansion in California, purchase a sprawling estate in the English countryside, and move across the Atlantic exactly 3 months before the largest unedited document dump in history? In Hollywood, timing is never an accident. It's a strategy. When Ellen DeGeneres quietly packed her bags for the Cotswolds in late 2024, the official story was privacy and a simpler life following the 2024 election. But to anyone paying attention to the legal storm clouds gathering over the U.S. Department of Justice, that move looked less like a vacation and more like an evacuation. This wasn't just a celebrity tired of the paparazzi. This was someone who appeared to know that the protection once guaranteed by the network system was officially dissolving. For 2 decades, Ellen was the sun around which daytime television orbited. She had the Be Kind brand, 30 Emmys, and the literal ear of sitting presidents. She was untouchable because she was the gatekeeper of nice. But then the January 2026 Epstein files dropped, and suddenly that brand wasn't just cracked, it was under a microscope. Her name is in those documents. That isn't a conspiracy theory, it is a recorded fact in the DOJ Epstein Library Index. While mainstream media fact-checkers were quick to point out that a name in a file doesn't equal a criminal charge, they couldn't explain the sheer volume of peripheral references or why so many high-profile figures were suddenly liquidating American assets at the exact same time. The most chilling part of the January 2026 release wasn't even the names, it was the language. Inside those thousands of pages, investigators and independent researchers flagged words that seemed totally out of place. The word pizza appears over 900 times. Cannibal shows up 52 times. Beef jerky and grape soda appear in email chains between powerful people in contexts that make absolutely no sense as food orders. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna went on the record stating that these unedited files contain language that is disturbing and confusing. The public was told to move on, that these were just food references or news clippings. But the timing of Ellen's flight to the UK makes that trust us narrative very hard to swallow. Just weeks after the files hit the public domain in early 2026, the internet exploded. A viral audio clip surfaced on X and TikTok allegedly featuring a whistleblower describing horrific events involving Ellen and other A-list stars. It racked up tens of millions of views overnight. People were horrified, and for a moment it felt like the dam had finally broken. Then the experts arrived. Using nearly 100 different deepfake detection tools, analysts concluded the audio was probably AI generated. PolitiFact and Snopes slapped pants-on-fire warnings on it, and the mainstream media used the fake clip to dismiss the entire Epstein connection as a digital hallucination. But here's the psychological trick that most people missed. What if the fake audio was released on purpose? If you want to protect a powerful person from a real whistleblower, the smartest move is to flood the zone with a fake one first. You release a clip that is 90% convincing but has a few technical flaws, you let the public believe it, then you debunk it loudly. Now, when a real victim or a real staffer comes forward with actual evidence, the public is already conditioned to say, "Oh, that's just more AI nonsense." It's the ultimate shield for the digital age. They aren't just hiding the truth, they are making the truth impossible to distinguish from the noise. Whether that specific February 2026 audio was real or not doesn't change the underlying reality. The reason millions of people believed it instantly wasn't because they were gullible, it was because the Be Kind mask had already slipped years ago. They remembered the 2020 BuzzFeed reports where 36 former employees described the show as a toxic hellscape. They remembered the stories of the Ellen gaze, that terrifying moment behind the scenes where her eyes would narrow and the nice lady would vanish, replaced by someone's staff compared to a queen deciding who gets executed. The public was already primed for the dark truth because they had seen the shadows for years. While the internet was screaming about the Epstein files and Ellen's UK estate, something very strange was happening on network television. Or rather, something wasn't happening. Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, and Stephen Colbert, men who built their entire careers on roasting every celebrity scandal and political gaffe, suddenly had nothing to say. There was a total, deafening silence regarding the Ellen connections. It wasn't because the story wasn't trending, it was the #1 topic in the world for 3 weeks straight. Yet on the late-night stages of ABC, NBC, and CBS, as if the story didn't exist. The reason for this blackout became clear in late 2025 and early 2026 when the system itself started to collapse. Jimmy Kimmel was hit with an indefinite suspension after a series of controversial segments, and Stephen Colbert's Late Show was officially canceled by CBS. The official reasons were ratings or restructuring, but the timing suggested something much more calculated. The networks were terrified. Between the FCC's new scrutiny and the threat of massive lawsuits from the people named in the Epstein files, the late-night hosts were essentially put on a leash. These men aren't independent truth-tellers, they are corporate employees. If you are a late-night host, you exist in a club. To keep your show, you need access to A-list guests. To get those guests, you have to play by the rules of every major publicist in town. If Kimmel or Fallon had cracked a joke about Ellen and the Epstein documents, they would have been blacklisted by every major agency in town. No show means no multi-million-dollar contract. The late-night blackout wasn't a coincidence, it was a survival tactic. They are the gatekeepers of what you are allowed to laugh at, and in 2026, the gate was slammed shut. Then there's Conan. For years, Conan was the outsider of the late-night world, and by 2021, he had walked away from the network system entirely. He moved to podcasts and his travel show on Max, freeing himself from the corporate censors. Because he no longer needed a network's permission to exist, he became the only voice willing to hint at the truth. In September 2025, following the suspension of Kimmel and the end of Colbert's run, Conan posted a message that sent shockwaves through the industry. He warned that the silencing of hosts for criticizing the powers that be should disturb everyone regardless of their politics. Conan's revelation confirmed what many suspected. There is a stone wall between the public and the reality of Hollywood. He described an era where hosts weren't allowed to be friends, where they were constantly peering over walls at each other, managed by executives who demanded total conformity. By defending his former rivals, Conan effectively admitted that censorship is real and active in the American media. If the networks were willing to silence their biggest stars over political commentary, imagine what they would do to protect a billionaire like Ellen DeGeneres from being linked to the most toxic scandal in human history. Conan's career is the authenticity roadmap. He proved that you can escape the competition by simply being real. But in doing so, he highlighted how unreal everyone else had become. When he spoke about the different time and the personalities that wouldn't even go out for drinks together, he was describing a system built on mutual suspicion and ironclad NDAs. That is the system that kept the Epstein secrets for decades, and that is the same system currently trying to explain away Ellen's permanent move to the UK as nothing more than a change of scenery. To understand why this matters, you have to zoom out and look at the pattern. It's the same playbook every single time. With Harvey Weinstein, everyone in Hollywood knew for 30 years, but the late-night hosts stayed silent until the New York Times made it impossible to ignore. With R. Kelly, the jokes were made for years, but no one in power actually moved until the public forced their hand. With Diddy, the stories of the freak-offs were whispered in every green room in Burbank, yet the media stayed quiet until the feds walked through his front door. Now we're seeing it again with the 2026 Epstein files. The names are there, the flight logs are there, the suspicious real estate liquidations are happening in broad daylight. Ellen is in the Cotswolds, other stars are quietly selling their Malibu compounds, and the Be Kind lady's transition from daytime queen to UK recluse is treated by the mainstream media as a lifestyle choice. They tell us that being mentioned in investigative materials does not imply criminal activity. While that is legally true, it ignores the common sense question, why are all the same people who told us to trust the science and trust the system now telling us to ignore the files? The timing is the only thing that doesn't lie. October 2024, the move. January 2026, the files. February 2026, the silencing of the late-night giants. These are not isolated events, they are the final maneuvers of a system that is running out of places to hide. People like Ellen DeGeneres didn't just build a brand, they built a fortress. But fortresses only work as long as the guards stay at their posts. With the networks collapsing and voices like Conan O'Brien calling out the censorship, the guards are starting to walk away. As we move further into 2026, the question isn't whether more files will be released, it's whether